This is what most teams are dealing with. One small change, like a login update or selector change, suddenly touches dozens of tests. And at that point, it's not just annoying, it's expensive, unpredictable, and hard to control. Most teams think this is a testing problem. It's not. It's structural. What's interesting is most test suites don't start messy. They start simple. One clean implementation, everything makes sense. Then the team needs to move faster, so they copy what already works. And over time, those copies evolve independently. And now change spreads everywhere. You change one thing, and suddenly you're touching 5 tests, then 10. Then you're not even sure what's connected anymore. So the question is, what actually caused this? Because it didn't happen all at once. No one designed it this way. This is how every test suite begins. You've got a simple login, enter username, password, click Submit, verify. It's clean. It makes sense. It starts simple. One implementation, one place, easy to understand. At this point, everything feels under control. But this doesn't stay this way. Because now you need to move faster, more tests, more coverage, deadlines. And at this point, no one stops to redesign. They copy what already works. So now you've got Login version 2 and Login with two-factor authentication, each one based on the original. And this actually makes sense. It's the fastest way to move, and in the moment, it feels like the right decision. But this is where things start to break down. You still have your original login, and a couple of different versions. They all started from the same place, but now, each one starts to change. Just a little, and that's all it takes. Maybe this one adds a retry. This one handles a redirect. This one skips a step. And this is the moment most teams miss. You no longer have one login. You have multiple versions of it, dozens of variations, and none of them are exactly the same. But they all look similar enough that you think they are. And now, something more subtle starts to happen. These variations don't stay isolated. They start to connect. This version depends on that one. This one shares logic with another. Changes in one place start affecting others. So now, when something changes, you're not fixing one thing. The problem isn't duplication. It's that nothing contains the variation. Change doesn't stay where it happens. It spreads. That's why you fix one test and 3 others break, because there's no boundary around the behavior. So, what would it look like if that variation was contained? Well, let's take a look at how other systems are designed. Take a submarine. It's not built as one open space. It's divided into sealed compartments. Each section is isolated on purpose, because failure isn't the problem. Uncontrolled spread is. If something goes wrong in one compartment, they seal it off. The rest of the system keeps operating. That's not accidental. That's engineered containment. So, how do you actually design a test suite like that? You don't eliminate variation, you structure it. After all, variation is necessary, but instead of creating different versions, we handle it in one place. Most frameworks focus on the UI layer. Selectors, clicks, inputs. These are just the mechanics. We group these steps into reusable actions, like enter credentials, submit form, and validate result. Actions are combined to perform complex workflows. This is where variation actually happens. Instead of copying this behavior, we compose it. That's what creates the boundary. Workflows are composed, actions are reused, and change stays isolated. Variation is isolated here, so it doesn't spread. So what does that actually change in practice? Well, on the left, login exists in multiple places. Each test owns its own version. So when the login button changes, you're fixing it everywhere. Change becomes a system-wide problem. Now on the right, login is defined once as a reusable action. Everything flows through it. So when the login button changes, you fix it once. Better yet, you know exactly where to find it. Change becomes a local event. Same system, different outcome. So the real question isn't what tool you're using, it's how change behaves in your system. When something changes, does it spread or is it contained? Because every team we talk to is dealing with the same thing. Fix one test, break three others. Not sure what's connected. That's not a testing problem. That's a structural problem. The goal isn't to eliminate change, it's to make sure it only happens in one place. If this is something you're dealing with, you should know that it isn't really a tooling issue. It's what happens when variation isn't contained. And the reason most teams don't address it is because they assume fixing it means starting over. It doesn't. What we found is that you can introduce structure incrementally, on top of what you already have, without slowing delivery or interrupting your current work. So if this feels familiar, we can walk you through how teams actually do that.